Hey everybody, how you doing? I finally got the news and then I read exactly what happened and it's a real sad day. Um, and In Raider Nation history, it really is. And There's any other way to put it than that, you know? Um, I think it's important to understand the gravity of the action taken to realize that this is different from allegations. These are actual communications that were sent out and received by other people in multiple numbers and over a period of years, which indicates a true way of thinking that for reasons best known to John, he felt was okay to express in emails to other people. That's what's most disappointing about this, is that he felt it was okay to do that. What I'm going to do for Raider fans is, if you want to share your thoughts on this, I'm extending this invitation for video, not audio, but people who want to be on camera. This is the link. I'm looking for a call from Raider Mac. I've asked him on audio because he's a friend of the show and all that. So I'll have his voice soon, but kind of want to really keep it focused. And it's sad. I say it's sad for me because I've been acquainted with John. I think it's the best way to describe it, since 1998. And I've seen John often enough. I've interviewed him often enough to think of him as a friend. And here's why I say that. Okay, all right. And I'm not gonna let the winds of society blow me off my mark. The kind of person that Jon Gruden was to me was this kind of person, and I wrote it before I before I go into this. Is Raider Mac I'm calling right now. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm watching the show now.
Oh, cool. Hey, let me explain something about Jon Gruden before we. Great to hear your voice. How are your folks doing, by the way?
My mother's in the hospital right now.
Oh, man.
I'm in and out of the hospital. She has an infection, and so how's your mother doing?
She's good. She's
good.
Here. She's downstairs getting ready for bed. So it's
Yeah.
I was going to say that the Jon Gruden I know, I'm shocked that, according to this account that I'm going to read in a little bit from the New York Times, and one has to read it because it gives a full picture. Okay, but before I do read it, I have to say this. I met John in 1998 at the Raiders sponsor party at Raider headquarters in Alameda, and I met him courtesy of my buddy to this day, Charlie Santana Jr., whose father, Charlie Santana Sr., was one of the people who actually put together the effort to bring the Raiders back to Oakland.
Raiders back, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of four of us, myself, John, Charlie. There was Pete, the cut doctor from Mike Tyson at the time, big guy. Mm-hmm. And I remember then, as now, my hobby was football strategy, and I had an idea for some shifts. And John said, hey, just call the office and let's schedule a time. And I never thought he would actually follow through with it. So I never followed up on him. But he put that out there, okay? Mm-hmm. So that's why I keep thinking, well, gee, if John has never given me a picture as a black person that he didn't respect me or my intellect, ever.
Okay.
Ever. Not once. That was 1998. Let's go to 2000. Okay. Let's go to 2004. And I ran into him with he and Cindy, his wife, at the Lee Steinberg Super Bowl party. Lee Steinberg's a longtime friend of mine.
Yes.
And Bruce Allen's walking by, and I'm saying hi to Bruce. And Bruce points at me and says, this guy will make a great general manager. And John said, yeah, he would, wouldn't he? You know? Now you don't say that about a person who's black if you think that black folks are something, or you don't have a good feeling, or you're racist, right? Am I wrong?
Well, Zenny, I consider you a friend and a brother and things like that. And, you have your views and things like that. And we very seldom disagree, but, there's things that I agree and things that I disagree with. And the thing is that with Gruden, that I've met years ago, it's not, I wouldn't consider a racist at all, but you have to look at the climate that we're in right now, and where there's a lot of media, and the media, how people will pick up, they will make news off the news that you find first, and then it'll go public and hit the mainstream. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's not anything new. It's been happening to you for years. You won't get quoted. You won't be ever pegged as a source. They'll say, "Oh, I discovered all this by myself," and things like that.
Well, that's why I started my own media company.
Exactly.
To help clients with that, so.
Okay, so the deal is that what I look at it is like this. There's certain things that you're not going to want to put on the internet. I don't care how you feel. You just don't do it.
No, you don't.
There's locker room talk, and there's talk amongst the boys, and it's talk, and that's it. But you don't put them in an email. You don't put it in an email.
No, that's what I'm getting at. I didn't think he's that stupid.
Okay, but see, this is sort of giving you a sort of taste, whether you like the guy or not, of Trump to a certain degree, because he's somebody that you know.
Right.
And like I said, this is locker room, and so you might get tried in court of popular opinion and things like that, but it is what it is. I'll say this. Now I'm just going to link certain things, and we'll get back to the record. But the deal is that when I was looking, when he got rid of Crabtree and signed Jordy Nelson, you remember that?
I do.
Okay, and I said, well, hey, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at what the season, what did Crabtree do that season, and what did Nelson do? Okay, and I'll say, you know what, this is typical John. Then I'll say, I can remember when he got rid of Jared Cook, and he signed the tight ends. He signed Dallas Cowboys tight end. Do you remember that?
I do.
And he gave him that mercy year, Winton. Whether he was a big impact or not or anything like that, it was probably a plug, because a lot of things happens behind the scene that the regular comment.
Raider Mac, if I may, though, that's what I'm getting at. I mean, look, and here's my point. You're talking about stuff that appeared in the press, right? I'm talking about things that happened to me by him.
Okay.
There's a vast difference. It wasn't okay. So let's fast forward from 2004 to Steinberg Party, where I gave him a play that he kept. All right.
Yeah, he read it. He told me.
And okay, let's move forward to the 2018 NFL owners meeting when he got hired, and the NFL Combine where he said, openly, I need plays, because he didn't have any ideas. And I said, I've got an idea. And he said, okay. So, what did John do? When I was at the NFL, that was the Combine. Then when I was at the NFL Spring League meeting, John had PR director Will Kiss wait for me in the lobby in Orlando. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
Specifically, I'm sorry?
I remember the story.
Yeah, specifically to get my plays. Okay. Now, I haven't had, and I've met a lot of people. I was had the pleasure of being at the Dallas Cowboys offices when I was 16 years old as a guest. They were on 6116 North Central Expressway, and watched 8 reels of film because I had a question regarding the Dallas defense. And I sent a letter, and they invited me to visit because Mom worked for United. I could fly for free, and I've never flown before by myself, and we arranged it, and they were really nice to me. So my point is, what I've experienced from John was on that level where he took time. He had the PR director of the Raiders specifically wait for me. And then when I met and I talked with him about the plays later, I was instructing him We're having specific discussions about how to handle it. He goes, I got you. I say, look, this is how you have to think about it. You might have to divide into 2 plays. And what I'm telling you, in terms of the plays that I came up with, have now become a standard in the National Football League, in terms of cross action from the halfback on the right side of the quarterback, either tight end on the left and a wing next to, or you can use your flanker, slot on the right, bring the tight end in motion, and you stop, and there's actually a cross action where the quarterback can actually roll out, or you can either throw a flat to the tight end, or you can, okay, that is my design. And I based it on Auburn. Jon took that, used it, and it became shared around the league. All right? That would not have happened if Jon Gruden had not had enough respect for my ideas to have the PR director, Will Kiss, of the Raiders wait for me at the meeting to get my place. All right? And it's not the first time. That's one of many times Jon has been respectful to me as a person. Now, does it make what he put in the emails right? No, it doesn't. It makes it all the more disappointing.
Well, yeah.
Okay. And so what I'm saying is people have their ideas about how Jon should have handled this player or that. I don't know what happened there. All I know is I've had the unique pleasure of having some acquaintance with the man that leads me beyond what the public might say about him. And that's what I know. I mean, I can't speak for how he has handled other players or anything. I can't speak for how he has handled me as a black person.
I understand.
That's all I know.
I understand. But the deal is that there's a lot of things that the public is not privy to know.
Right. That's what I'm talking about my story.
And so like, just for instance, like, you might have, Marquez Pope and, Charles Woodson, drunk in the parking lot. They got to go to practice. And then they're sort of dragging A in practice, and he's, talking smack to him, and he's cursing them out in practice and stuff like that because he knows what state they're in. And he's like, why are you taking this serious, and things like that. People don't know that.
Well, but that's why I was telling my story, because that's the player.
Yeah. But
Raider Mac, name me how many people can make the claim that I did.
Oh, none.
Right. That's my point. So you're talking, that's what I'm saying. Players are one thing, but I'm saying that, and the reason why I'm pushing this so hard is you're talking about players, but I'm talking about a person like me in a situation. This goes for Bruce Allen too, okay, as a compliment, all right? In a situation where we're consistently talking about advancing African Americans in management, or at least looking at them like that, right? Okay. Or being intelligent or having an idea beyond being a player. That is how I was treated by both of these men consistently. I don't know anything different. I do know people, regardless of color, who do not look like someone black who is smart.
Okay.
And they don't. And so my point is, these guys have never treated me like that.
Okay.
Ever.
So now let's shift now to another position where you have Jon Gruden, and there was rumblings last year on the defensive tackle position, and that year they had signed Nassib. Okay, they got him, I think, from Tampa Bay. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there was no penetration, little or none, coming from his his position. And so they went in and they went deep in and they drafted and had signed some undrafted free agents, and they went deep on the line to revamp their line for this defense for this year. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before that year, after that season was over, it was grumblings, and it was like, hey, I brought you over here, and they were trying to shop him before. Mm-hmm. They were trying to get rid of him, but all of a sudden now this guy's not feeling, saying, hey, there's something bothering me, it's affecting my play, and then he comes out and says that he's gay. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I just had this conversation, not long ago, sort of, with my father, and I was, and I sort of equated to the Tim Tebow type of thing, where Urban Meyer brings in Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
And everybody goes in an uproar that, Tim Tebow is going to, that guy, you got Shannon Sharp, and he's talking all this stuff on his forum, and he's saying, hey, Tim Tebow can't do this, Tim Tebow can't do that. I said, well, hey, let him, if he can get through training camp, let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But, and basically he got let go, and that was that, and everything went back to normal. But, if you're good, you're good. Now you have, this Nassib guy, and he's saying, well, this is bothering me and this is affecting my play. I don't care if Nassib was, when he was with Tampa Bay, he wasn't no big threat. He wasn't a turning point player, okay, at all. Right. He was nothing of nobody on the line. He didn't stand out. They did him a favor.
Well, actually, I will have to say one thing in defense of Carl Nassib.
Go ahead.
His reach as a defensive tackle, was excellent to bat down passes. If you could use him to get a push, and in a part of rotation, he really got a great push, and he got his hands up. So I have to defend Carl Nassib. I mean, he's a journey person. I don't know the ins and outs regarding the locker room. Maybe some of that was have him coming out. I don't know. But all I know is that you don't stay in the league and have the ability to draw a good salary and be effective on team to team just by existing. And if you understand how to employ a person like that, your first thought is like you put him in a pinch defense where he can quickly get between the guard and a tackle gap. And then you get him there and he's got long arms. That dude, he and Max Crosby have long arms.
I got you on that. But I'm just going to just put this back in your court.
Okay.
How many passes have he batted down? How much penetration has he done? He's got to the quarterback a little bit this year, but they got a guy, undrafted guy. I'm trying to remember his name. Is Phylon or whatever? I think that's his name.
Yeah.
He's more. He has more penetration and more sacks than Nassib ever have. And I'm not trying to, compare peaches to apples or anything. It's a production type of thing. That's what this is all about. And, like I said, Gruden, if you could look at his email and you could look at, how Nassib said, well, this is bothering me and I got to come out now and stuff. And it's like, well, in this type of environment, it would be sort of bad, it would be a bad look if they would let him go. And things like that. Say, oh, well, they fired him because he's this way or whatever. But you know that Gruden really didn't want this guy on the team. Okay, Gruden.
I don't actually know that.
I'll put money on it. Okay. I'll put money on it. I'll put money on it. Just like I put money on that when we were talking last, and we were talking. It was me, you, and a couple other guys. The last time you talked to me, and says, "Well, I think the Steelers are going to win." I says, "No."
Oh, but that's different. Come on, man.
No, I know it's different, but I'm just saying. I know. And I said, "Hey, Chicago's going to win." I know that's different.
You know what that is? That's like that's like you're so desperate for a victory. You're pick out anything.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I'm trying. I got you to laugh on that. But the deal is that it's a pattern. It's a pattern. And a lot of times, Gruden he's sort of like an old school type of guy, and he's going to say some stuff that's not going to make you feel good and make you feel fuzzy. Do you remember when they had the HBO special? And the Raiders was there, right? And they were doing the Raiders one year, right?
Mm-hmm. And
he says, "Hey, everybody has dreams. You probably had dreams when you was a little kid playing NFL. Well, I don't give a damn about dreams. I want to be a nightmare. I want to kill somebody's dreams. I want to get out on this." You remember that?
Yeah.
And that's where he's coming from, and things like that. That might be not a wholesome thing to say or a way to go about things to look at it, but that's just where he's at. For whatever it's worth, I've looked at the Raiders and whether it's in Vegas or what have you, and with the last play in Miami, and they had the quarterback's helmet halfway twisted off on a rush, and he threw that 40-yard pass, and Gruden's making the face. And, how many times have we seen that? How many times have we seen it? Look at Derek Carr. Everything that Derek Carr has, he won. He wanted Olsen, he got him. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
and he's done okay. He hasn't done anything breakout. But when he had the other offensive coordinator, who he said was holding him back, he had some of his best years. Okay.
Talking about Musgrave.
Come again?
Talking about Musgrave is the Cal offensive coordinator now.
Yes, Cal's coach. Yes. So you can't.
And I rolled my eyes for a reason. Sorry, folks. I'm a Cal guy. Our record's not great. I'm a life member of the Alumni Association.
Cal. Yeah, grew up right a couple blocks from Cal.
But you know who the offensive coordinator for Cal is right now?
I can't remember. I don't remember.
It's Bill Musgrave.
Bill Musgrave. Yeah. I thought he's the head coach.
No, that's Dave Wilcox.
Okay, well, they had that same offensive coordinator, and he knew when to throw it and he knew when to run it, and but once you give him, you give Carr his full free range. He's had his free range for a couple of years, and and then then Gruden came, but hey, it's been downhill. He's going to do the same thing. So I'm not, I'm just looking at it from afar.
Well, I will say this:
my feelings on it.
When I finished my playbook called The Eagle Offense of the NFL, and the letter that I wrote at the front of it, it's the Eagle Offense NFL, the EagleOffense.com. I specifically wrote a letter. I specifically said that this was dedicated to Jon Gruden. And the reason why I did that is because he's the only person who actually listened to my ideas and pay attention to them. And so I created that. Rather than giving him one play, I had a whole series. And the series that I I built around a concept of based around what would happen theoretically if one combined a 4 wide receiver asymmetric offense with 4 wide receivers on one side and the approach of the New England Patriots 2007 offense, which is spread offense, short passing. It was the one. It was the offense. Yeah, it was the offense that allowed the Patriots to go through the season undefeated, only to be derailed by the Giants in the Super Bowl because they didn't stick with the strategy, which was weird. But that was a one and done offense. The Patriots hadn't ran it before, and they haven't ran it since. And I thought, bring it back. But
I don't think they had a personnel anyway these days.
No, they have the personnel to that. No, it wasn't that they didn't. They have the personnel, and they've had it. Yeah. They've had it many years. It's not a personnel issue. It's a matter of whatever I think. Well, it's always a personnel issue to some degree, but I would have to ask Coach Belichick the next time I see him why he has not brought that back. Now, his answer is going to be that we've done elements of it over the years, but frankly, what they did that year, they stopped doing it. It may be that maybe they lost somebody in the staff area that gave them the ability to do that from a research standpoint. I don't know. Whatever the reason, the Eagle offense of the NFL that I created, I believe, can achieve that level of effectiveness. But I wanted Jon to have that. Because again, Jon, I have never, and I will say this again till the cows come home, because too often we as Black folks, particularly brothers, are thought of physically and not what we can do intellectually. And someone might be thinking, well, gee, did he offer you a job or anything? The question is, did I ask? And the answer is no. I firmly believe if I had said to Jon when he came back, hey, I'd love to have a job as an assistant GM or intern or research person, anything to learn the organization and move up, I think Jon would have advanced that. I don't know if Mark would have agreed with it, but I think he would have. And the same for Bruce Allen, okay?
Well, look at where Jon came from.
He
was a gopher.
Well, yeah. And see, my point is that, but I didn't ask. And they also saw me when I was, particularly Bruce Allen, not so much Jon, but I don't know if Jon was paying much attention then, but I ran the effort to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland. We almost did with Jacksonville. Bruce was part of that. Amy Trask was the CEO of the Raiders, came in and gave us a vote, all right? And to which I recently thanked her to this day. Hold on a second. I'm going to don't go anywhere, Raider Mac. Hold on a second. Okay. Hold on a second. Hey, it's Zenny. How are you?
Oh, hello.
Hey, I'm live talking about Jon Gruden. You want to join us?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay, in that case, I'm live, so let me know. Otherwise, I don't want to get you saying something you don't intend to say.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, Anyway, I gotta go back to Raider Mac. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Okay. See ya. All right. Hey, Raider Mac, you still there?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, but anyway, that's what it's something, and I'm going to get to these comments here. But first, before I get to these comments, let me read what the New York Times put together, because it really helps to frame. It's disappointing. It's hard to read, but it's one of those things that you kind of got to do in order. You got to get through it and get by it and get beyond it, and move forward. And then process it. Okay. The title is Raiders Coach Resigns After Homophobic and Misogynist Emails. In emails detailed by the New York Times, Raiders coach Jon Gruden casually used misogynistic and homophobic language to disparage people. And it says in a post-game news conference Sunday, Raiders coach Jon Gruden addressed an email in which he used a racist trope to describe DeMaurice Smith, the head of the NFL Players Association. And I have to say, DeMaurice Smith is another man who I've had the pleasure of meeting and talking with. I have the greatest respect for him. And I'm sorry that he was targeted this way. And it was just, these are things you just don't do. Folks, kids out there, you don't write stuff about people on emails. It's the things that you might do if you're 14 or 15. But I remember the one time I wrote an email that I probably should have taken back, but I didn't. But the reason I didn't is because I was frustrated that then Oakland Mayor Jerry Brown had went behind my back regarding the Super Bowl, and I wrote to my board after we didn't get the vote that I wanted from the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority. This was in 2000. Actually, the specific date was the October 19th, 2000. That was a JPA meeting. I went home that night and I wrote an email to my board in which I accused Mayor Brown of not being comfortable with African Americans who spoke intelligently and as opposed to slang. I felt like he was more comfortable with classically African American, classically black people. It's like, oh yeah, what's up and everything. And I wrote that. Okay. That was taken to Jerry. And then it was passed to Chip Johnson, the Chronicle, who basically saying he's racist and all this. And then Jerry fired me. But as opposed to saying what I thought Jerry should have said, which was, hey, look, you know what? I'm sorry you feel that way. And how can I improve because you're working on the Super Bowl? And on top of that, I wrote it because I found out that the NFL told me that Jerry was had people go behind my back to ask them questions that the NFL knew I had already given them the answers to regarding our Super Bowl bid. I formed the bid. This is why, being intellectually respected and putting this in the context regarding Jon is so important to me, because of the many times I have been disrespected from an intellectual standpoint, going all the way back to when I was like 10 years old, and teacher in Chicago had me tested as at the behest of the principal, and my first test said that I had an IQ of 156, and she basically, white teacher Miss Godzuki, said basically, and I thought somebody was one of my favorites until she said she couldn't believe I was that smart. And basically I'm thinking, why? Because I'm black? And it really, to this day, and I'm 59, hurt, because that person ordered that I be retested. I didn't expect to be tested to begin with. I'm 10 years old. I've got no idea what's going on. I got my second test was, I had a 131 score, so you average the two. Still comes out pretty good, but I didn't know all that stuff. All I knew was I had the first test. And rather than say, this is incredible, you are capable of this, she immediately sought to put me down.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And my point is that, and the reason why Raider Mac, the reason why I harp on this is because we do not push black folks intellectually. All right. And we got to do that. And so again, in that context, I present Jon. Now, this is now again, it does not excuse what I'm about to read by Ken Belson and Catherine Roseman of the New York Times. It goes, Jon Gruden stepped down Monday as a coach of the Las Vegas Raiders football team hours after the New York Times detailed emails in which he had made homophobic and misogynistic remarks following an earlier report of racist statements about a union leader. His resignation was a striking departure from the football league for a coach who had won a Super Bowl, been a marquee analyst on ESPN, and returned to the NFL in 2018 to lead the resurgent Raiders, which he had coached years before. Quote, "I resigned as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders," he said on Twitter in a statement issued by the team. Quote, "I love the Raiders and do not want to be a distraction. Thank you all to the players, coaches, staff, and fans of Raider Nation. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt anyone." And they have the tweet. Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, said in a statement that he accepted the resignation, and Rick Basia, the Raiders special teams coordinator, was elevated to interim head coach, the team said. Gruden's departure came after a New York Times report that NFL officials, as part, and they say New York Times report. I wonder if the Times paid for this, because you keep wondering, hey, how do they get these stories, right? No one else does. Anyway,
I'm not standing on anything in the New York Times. There's a lot of things that's going on there that they don't report.
I agree.
And so they don't. And it's almost like when you talk about a person as far as Donald Trump, and he says fake news, I always look at them.
Gotcha.
They always pop in my head.
Let's continue. It says Gruden's departure came after a New York Times report that NFL officials, as part of a separate workplace misconduct investigation that did not directly involve him, found that Gruden had casually and frequently unleashed misogynistic and homophobic language over several years to denigrate people around the game and to mock some of the league's momentous changes. He denounced the emergence of women as referees, the drafting of a gay player. Well, I actually favor the women as referees, so that's kind of like, these are things you leave alone. You like, for example, I had on a few years ago, Dr. Jen Walter. I met her at Super Bowl 50 in the media area. Great lady, proud to have her as a friend. Had her on the show talking about her experiences as the NFL's first female coach. Okay. And then anyway, they say he denounced women as referees, the drafting of a gay player, and the tolerance of players protesting during the playing of the national anthem, according to emails reviewed by the Times. And then it goes on to say that Gruden's messages were sent to Bruce Allen, the former president of the Washington football team, and others while he was working for ESPN as a color analyst during Monday Night Football. In the emails, Gruden called the league's commissioner, Roger Goodell, something I'm not going to repeat, and a clueless anti-football, something else I'm not going to repeat because I'm on YouTube, and said that Goodell should not have pressured Jeff Fisher, then the coach of the Rams, to draft something else I'm not going to repeat, a reference to Michael Sam, gay player that was chosen by the team in 2014. In numerous emails during a 7-year period, ending in early 2018, Gruden criticized Goodell and the league for trying to reduce concussions and said that Eric Reed, a player who had demonstrated during the playing of the national anthem, the 49er, should be fired. In several instances, Gruden used a homophobic slur to refer to Goodell and offensive language to describe some NFL owners, coaches, and journalists. I wonder which journalists he was talking about who cover the league. And Gruden, Allen, the NFL, and the Raiders did not respond to requests for comment. Although not with a team at the time, Gruden was still influential in the league and highly coveted as a coach. And this is where I think the NFL, the New York Times people kind of show their lack of knowledge of the league, but I'll explain that in a second. He won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers following the 2002 season, and in 2018 he was hired for his second stint as the head coach of the Raiders franchise, which includes defensive lineman Carl Nass as the first active NFL player to publicly declare that he's gay. Now, the reason why I say that these two authors miss the connection with Gruden is that Jon Gruden was being paid by ESPN, and ESPN is a key NFL partner. And among other things, and I can tell you this as a person who formed the bid to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland, they form the media that we as Super Bowl bidders in the NFL have to take care of. We have to find special hotel room blocks specifically for them because they're considered a key part of the NFL family of approximately 17,400 people. All right. So they're not, this article, whatever you want to call it, presents Gruden as if he was separate from the league. But when you work for ESPN, you are not separate from the National Football League. You are still a part of the National Football League. And I want people to understand that, which to me, Jon obviously didn't understand, and no one told him not to do this as an ESPN anchor. All right.
Okay.
Now, the league says last week it shared emails with the Raiders in which Gruden made derogatory comments. Then it goes on to read, Gruden told ESPN on Sunday the league was reviewing emails in which he criticized Goodell and explained that he had been upset about team owners' lockout of the players in 2011 when some of the emails were written. Gruden said that in an interview that he had used an expletive to refer to Goodell, and he did so because he disproved the Goodell's emphasis on safety, which he believed was scaring parents into steering their sons away from football. And I understand that, but you don't express that in vulgar terms. And it goes on to read this. But Gruden's behavior was not limited to 2011. Gruden exchanged emails with Allen and other men that included photos of women wearing only bikini bottoms, including one photo of two Washington team cheerleaders. Then it says Gruden also criticized President Obama during his re-election campaign in 2012, as well as then Vice President Joseph R. Biden, who Gruden called something I'm not going to repeat, a nervous clueless blank. He used similar words to describe Goodell and DeMaurice Smith, the executive director of the NFL Players Association. The league is already investigating Gruden as a result of another email he wrote to Allen in 2011, which he used racist terms to describe Smith, who is black. That's the lips issue. In that email, Gruden, who is white and was working for ESPN at the time, this is what gets me, all right, criticized Smith's intelligence, bad thing, and used a racist trope to describe his face. The correspondence was first reported by the Wall Street Journal and then confirmed by the New York Times.
Question.
Yeah.
So what he said about Smith's lips, that bothers you?
Of course it does.
Okay.
I don't, and here's the why. I don't, because I don't like that language on my show to begin with, and I don't think that way about anybody. And plus, why would it not bother me if I've talked to DeMaurice Smith at NFL meetings and enjoy talking again with someone African American who is rapier. He is rapier smart. Okay, so I defend him. All right, and I do not tolerate that sort of thing at all. And black people, no, Brader Mac, black people need to stand up for black folks in intellectual positions. I don't care how you feel. That is an end game with me. It is hard enough for us, and the last bastion of racial advancement is this place where we get to where somebody can just say you don't know something as opposed to prove. There's a lot of that today. So that's why Jack Bull do not like black folks being criticized who are in positions where their opinion pays the bills because their opinion is reasoned. Consultants, for example, all right? And at a time when the city of Oakland has advanced nothing but white consultants on the Howard Terminal project, which I thought was unheard of in our city. And this is the kind of thing that you start stacking these little bitty transgressions one on top of the other, and what you get is the continuance of a racist society. At some point, you got to stop it. All right? And that's what I'm saying. Zero tolerance for that stuff, man.
Okay. I'm not, like I said, I'm not familiar because I had sort of faded on the Howard Terminal. I don't know how that thing is going. I sort of faded out on
Major League Baseball's head out of Oakland. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And so, and like you said, you have these owners who want what they want, and if they can, navigate their team somewhere else that they think the grass is greener, they'll do that. Regardless of what you give them. I think the Howard Terminal is a great, could work, but, then who am I? But as far as when I look at Gruden and I look at him and he talks crap just in general, and you can't hide that. I'm looking at him as when he's talking all this stuff, and if he's talking about dudes' lips or whatever, he's around these players and he's talking stuff, and they're talking crap right back, and so it's like he's capping or whatever. What does it sting or whatever? What do you got to come back on him? And I'm looking at it as that. And as far as like locker room, and he's calling these people all these different names. He's not saying anything that other people aren't thinking. Like I was talking to some people, and I'm like saying, hey, you might as well give Jerry Jones, make him commissioner, because they're doing everything that he says. Because if it wasn't the case, we wouldn't be in this place to begin with. The Raiders would still be in Oakland.
Yeah, but I want to say this. I want to say to anybody young watching, don't ever do that. Okay? I don't care what your thinking is. I don't care what's in the back of your mind. It's not.
Write it down in an email.
It's not. No, don't even do that. Okay? Just don't. I don't care what your feelings are. I don't care what your thoughts are. And this is the point that people will say, what about free speech? Look, you can get out in the middle of the sidewalk and say what you want to, but if you say it too loud, guess what? Some neighbor of yours can call the cops and have you taken in for disturbing the peace. Don't be stupid. You have to live in society with other people, and the bottom line is this: are you doing things that make people feel good or bad?
It's usually the latter.
Right. And my point is, if you're doing something that makes people feel bad, you got a mea culpa like that. And as the publisher of the Oakland Post said to me earlier, we were talking, Paul Cobb, he said, Zinni, Jon Gruden was not contrite. He was combative. And he was right, he was. He came off as combative.
Yeah.
But, as I understand it, the NFL people inside the NFL already made their decision, and that has to come from the communications people. They don't like that. And the league has had a number of departures of very talented African-American executives in the communications area. And I don't officially know the reason why, but I know that there's been a shocking number of defections, if you will, by key Black executives in communications over the past year and a half. There were 3 sisters that I was really tight with, still am, and I'm not going to throw out names. If you regularly read Oakland News Now, you can figure it out, or you can figure out who I'm talking about, or just watch the interactions. But my point is, they're gone. All right, and they haven't been replaced like with the equal number of equally talented African American, equally talented sisters, right? But they left for a reason, and I gotta believe, this is me, that it's tied to a lot of the earthquake race situations that have been happening with the league post George Floyd. Okay, and George Floyd is really, we Raider Mac, as well as I do, George Floyd really, this is the ghost of George Floyd at work, wouldn't you say?
Possible. It's possible, but you have to, there's a lot of money and things to be made on people.
Yep.
How can you say, where there is a discourse, where there's people that's not getting along.
Mm-hmm.
There's equal, if not more money.
Mm-hmm.
For there to be some type of controversy in doing the right thing.
I agree.
So yeah, I understand. As far as like I said, the George Floyd, you can even tie it into the Colin Kaepernick.
Mm-hmm.
All that guy ever did was kneel.
Right.
He didn't hurt anybody.
Yep.
He didn't flip people off. I'm not a Kaepernick fan, but and I like this, but all I know is that he didn't kneel. He wasn't. He said he was protesting or whatever, and things like that. And everybody's going to have their stance. Mm-hmm. I'll say this. I can remember, with that, I can remember they had the national anthem, and I didn't stand a couple times. And the guy, I was at a game, it was at a Raider game. The guy, tapped me. He didn't tap me. He slapped my shoulder and stuff like. They said, "Hey, man, stand up for the national anthem." Now, I'm on crutches now. I'm going through some surgeries. And so I said, and I'm at home, and I'm like, Oakland, I'm at the Coliseum, that's my home, and things like that. My people there, I says, man, I don't think you know what you're dealing with, and stuff like that, and I didn't get into it, But then the other guy, hey, look, he's pointing. He got his crutches, he got his cane, and he said, "Oh, I'm bad." I said, "Well, tell it to those dudes over there." And they're looking and saying, "Do I have a problem?" And I said, "No, it's no problem." But the deal is that what I'm getting to is that he did not flip anybody off.
Right.
And it just rolls together. But you have people who are going to be on their side that you're disrespecting this and that, and they're gonna stand firm on that and things like that. But things you're taking the soul out of the game. Okay, that's one thing. You're taking the soul out of the game. And like you said, Jon Gruden, he's combative. I'm looking at it like this. And my stance.
Mm-hmm.
I said, if Al was here, would this have happened? Would he have rehired him and whatnot? And the answers are no. So I'm looking at it from afar and from a distance. And I text about 6 people, and you were the one guy who basically return my text, because this is a job and it's friendship and things like that. But this is right in our wheelhouse, right in our backyard, in our front yard. And you have personal experiences. I met Jon Gruden years ago because there was a doctor that was a friend of ours in the neighborhood, and this is Jon Gruden, regular guy, things like that. But is he going to talk some trash? Yeah. I think he'll talk trash to anybody, whatever you are, whatever sex you are. I think he's going to talk trash. But, it seems like you can't do that. But like I said, would you put an email out? I couldn't do that if I was as inebriated. I couldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
No, yeah. And in fact, this gets to, let me get through this time. So almost there. It says, taking together these emails provide an unvarnished look into the clubby culture of one NFL circle of peers. And I'll read it in circle of peers, and where white male decision makers feel comfortable sharing pornographic images, deriding the league policies, and jocularly sharing homophobic language. And what this article, I think, precisely gets at is the stuff of the soul that produces the reasons why African Americans don't get picked for head coaching positions, why we still seem to have this attitude that is sprung right from Al Campanis, when in April 6th of 1887, he said to Ted Koppel that we as African Americans essentially didn't have the right intellect to manage. He said that, okay? And basically what Jon Gruden has done is he didn't say this on television, but he essentially communicated it, and this is how it's seen by people, about DeMaurice Smith by using a racial trope rather than sticking purely and solely with a discussion of whether or not he likes the policy. In other words, keeping it technical, right? Which is what you should do. Instead, he made it personal, and then he opened the door for anyone to say, wait, why did you describe him this way, other than, do you realize that was racist? Okay. And John can't say, I don't have a racist bone in my body, because again, we go back to the Al Campanis comparison, and Campanis basically came off as if his attitude was casual and okay. And it's worth revisiting. I had on my show earlier, it's worth revisiting if you ever had the time, folks. I'm not going to take it here, what Campanis said. And then this goes on to say their banter flies in the face, talking about the NFL circle of peers that Jon Gruden was emailing to, flies in the face of the league's public denouncements of racism and sexism, and its promises to be more inclusive amid criticism for not listening to concerns of black players, who make up about 70% of rosters. The NFL has in the past struggled to discipline personnel who have committed acts of domestic violence and been condemned for failing to adequately address harassment of women, including NFL cheerleaders. Remember, the Raiderettes won a historic lawsuit, including money over that. Bravo to those brave women who fought that, and 2 of which I had the pleasure of meeting in Jack London Square a few years ago. The league, that's DeMaurice Smith and Mark Davis, all denounced Gruden's comments about Smith when they surfaced, but the coach still led his team in its game on Sunday against the Chicago Bears. Gruden said Friday that he didn't remember sending the email, and that his language went too far, adding, quote, "I've never had a blade of racism in me." And I think he should have said that I recognize, and just mea culpa his way. But when you get up there and there are all these examples of this racism that he might not even recognize, but is there, the last thing you say is, "Oh, I never had that in me," because obviously it was in him. And then it goes on to read Gruden's emails to Bruce Allen, who was fired by the Washington football team at the end of 2019, were reviewed as part of an NFL investigation of workplace misconduct within the franchise that ended this summer. Goodell instructed league executives to look at more than 650,000 emails during the past few months, including those in which Gruden made offensive remarks. Last week, Goodell received a summary of their findings, and the league sent the Raiders some of the emails written by Gruden. In the exchanges, Gruden used his personal email account while Allen wrote from his team account. That was smart.
Wow.
Jeez. You want to talk about boneheaded?
Well, no. That's comfortable.
Wow.
That's being comfortable. Listen to me.
That's being boneheaded. Let me finish this. Hold that thought. Let me finish this. Okay. In some cases, Allen initiated the conversations and Gruden chimed in, while in other cases they traded Vulgar comments several times, which means, Bruce is not out of this either. Some of the emails between Gruden and Allen included businessman friends Ed Drost, the co-founder of Hooters. Oh, how quaint. Jim McVeigh, an executive who was ran the Outback Bowl, annually held in Tampa, Florida, and Nick Reeder, the founder of PDQ Restaurants, a Tampa-based fried chicken franchise. The exchanges begin as early as 2010 while Gruden was an analyst for Monday Night Football. In 2018, he signed a 10-year, $100 million contract to coach the Raiders. Drost, McVeigh, and Reeder did not respond to requests for comment. Gruden and Allen are longtime friends and colleagues. Allen was a senior executive with the Raiders from 1995 to 2003. When he worked for Gruden, he was head coach of the team from 1998 to 2001. Gruden became head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2002 and beat the Raiders in the Super Bowl that season. Allen they forgot to mention the trade, but whatever. Allen became the general manager there in 2004. Allen and Gruden both left the Buccaneers after the 2008 season. While Gruden moved on to a broadcast role with ESPN, Allen became the general manager in Washington in 2010 and later the team's president. Allen, who is the son of legendary NFL coach George Allen, and Gruden, whose father coached at Notre Dame and whose brother Jay Gruden was head coach in Washington between 2014 and 2019, are part of an exclusive network that cycles between NFL teams, networks, and companies affiliated with the league. Now, I will have to say, I thought Jay had some issues with black quarterbacks by the way he treated RG3. I didn't like that, and I continue to hold that it wasn't the best of the league on display when he was coaching the Washington football team. In June, the article continues, the NFL congratulated Carl Nassib, after he became the first active NFL player to publicly declare he's gay. Goodell said he was, quote, proud of Carl for courageously sharing his truth today. Representation matters, folks. Privately, Allen and Gruden appeared to have few boundaries in expressing homophobic and transphobic language. In one email from 2015 that includes Drost, McVeigh, and others, Gruden crudely asked Allen to tell Brian Glazer, who I know is a friend of mine. Brian was one of my supporters during my Oakland Super Bowl bid. Brian Glazer is as fine a person as you'll meet. He's the president of the Buccaneers. Fantastic person. He said, Gruden crudely asked Allen to tell Brian Glazer, whose family owns the Buccaneers, where Gruden coached in 2008, to perform something. And I'm not going to repeat that because some of this, these organizations, media organizations, like to use this to get people to read. It becomes like reading Playboy or something like that. Allen said Glazer, yeah, this is a big problem. Allen says Glazer would, quote, take you up on the offer. All right. which is a bad thing for Bruce Allen to say about Brian Glazer. I'm sure Brian doesn't like that. Brian's married, great family, and really a very nice person, you know?
Okay.
But hey, Brian is not afraid to make tough decisions. That's Brian. Allen and Gruden also mocked Caitlyn Jenner, who received an award from ESPN in 2015 after she transitioned. In the email to 2015, Allen and Gruden criticized a congressional bill that aimed to force the Washington franchise to change its name, which the team stopped using last year. Again, using a vulgar term, Gruden took aim at Goodell and his staff, even though the commissioner had initially defended the team's right to keep the name. And then in 2017, Drost shared with the group a sexist meme of a female referee, to which Gruden replied, "Nice job, Roger." That same year, Gruden was sent a link to an article about the NFL players calling on Goodell to support their efforts to promote racial equality and criminal justice reform. Gruden had advice for Goodell. Quote, "He needs to hide in his concussion protocol tent," unquote, he wrote. That was bad. And then says, and that's where that ends, okay? That's the story, folks. That's what happened. That lays it all out. And so now that I've read all that, Raider Mac, what do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna sort of get ready to go to jump off here, but I'll say this. Yeah. It sort of sounds like something that people do when they're in high school or elementary school.
Yeah.
And for all the money and the positions that they have and the power that they have that they're in, they're risking it. They're playing a dangerous game. And I can just remember when we had Bruce Allen. And, we could get these free agents and we could sign them and whatnot. And we had a little power there. And, Al wouldn't pay him and wouldn't, so he left. And so I'm looking at it from that aspect. But, then you look at the personal aspect and, they're sending emails and nude, that's some 4th, 5th grade. Usually by the time their age, you would think that you had some and it's no big deal. You've been in the end zone. You might be going back. But, if that's their thing and that's, so there's certain groups that do that. Okay. It's nothing. It's not anything new. But, like I said, a lot of power, a lot of powerful positions, and they're resulting in that in emails. Hey, I can't call. I can't call it on that one, man. It's so immature. But other than that, something that 8th graders do.
Yeah, exactly.
And you think that you would be a little bit more mature and past that. Mm-hmm. But as far as, like I said, as far as Gruden is a letdown, yeah. But is it something that I'm surprised that he say? No, not at all. And that's where I stand with it. Is it right? Some of it, no. Some of it, is it telling the truth? Yeah, I think so. How is he saying it? Can he use better words? Sure, he can. Will he? To this day, probably no, because that's who he is.
He probably better learn, though.
Come again?
He should learn.
Oh, well, I mean, what is there else to learn? He's basically he's a pariah now. Am I right?
Well, but I think everybody, I gotta see if I can get Lee Steinberg on to talk about this, because last time Lee and I had a conversation of this type, mm-hmm. It was about Tiger Woods, and Lee had said that, America loves second chances. America loves a second act. And I think that's what Lee would say about this. And, I would have to agree.
You think that he would get a second chance?
Yes, absolutely. Because there are too many people, like including myself, that want the best for him and believe that he understands that he messed up and will come back better. Now, does it mean that he'll be second chance as a head coach? I doubt it.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, we're in reality now.
I doubt it. But look, the man's also a Republican donor. I mean, there are a number of ways this could go. After he's going through undoubtedly a tough period with his wife, Cindy. But I know that there are a number of people that are going to call him who are Republican donors. And as you've seen a preview of this in social media already, okay? don't think this kind of thing will not spill over into the midterm elections, because it will. All right. And could it be damaging to Democrats in a way? Yeah, I think it can be. The question is how much. All right. Now, am I saying, Zinni, are you telling me that this could cause certain elections to turn? And I'm saying, yeah, it could, because as a number of friends of mine, I've said it, we all have instances where somebody else can say that we are things that we don't think of ourselves as being, right? And at what point do you stop canceling people? It's like there's a hashtag that says cancel culture, right?
Dave Chappelle.
And right, exactly. And so my point is, but if you think about cancel culture, frankly speaking, some people call it woke culture. That's all identified with progressive Democrats.
True.
All right. All the people that were listed in that New York Times piece, which is also, recognized as a liberal publication with Arthur Salzberger at the helm, there are Republicans that were identified. So all of this you can take and you can cut it with a thick political knife. I'm not saying it excuses what Jon did, but what I'm saying is that it plays right into the hands of the GOP electorate that says, see, they've gotten too much control. This has gone too far, and we need to really advance what John Kenneth Galbraith would call a countervailing power. Okay, and that's where we are with this, because it is so high in our recognition level in terms of society and its impact. Okay, like Kurt Flirt says, let's see, we have Jon Gruden, Dave Chappelle, who's next. And hey, I saw Dave Chappelle's show last night. Dave Chappelle is still going, and it was funny. But what Dave Chappelle had to say, I think everybody should see, because it's not what you think it is. Okay, it's very thoughtful. It's very heartfelt regarding the plight of transgender people who are just trying to live their lives. It's not what you think. All right. But did some people try to cancel Dave? Yeah. Did they succeed? No, they didn't. Okay. But the overarching point that I'm making is that there are a number of people for which this whole episode is tiresome. A healthy percentage of them, the majority, I would argue, are Republican, but a not insignificant percentage are also independent and Democrat. All right. So will this turn the elections in some place? Will it get some people ignited, including donors? The answer is yes. To what extent remains to be seen. Now, if Jon Gruden decides to go out and use it, if he starts appearing on the political circuit, hey, you got a new problem. All right. If, will he do that? He could. Again, he's been an active Republican donor. Okay. It could happen. All right. Do I think it's a good idea? No, because it would basically say that he didn't learn anything and he has no problem making the NFL look bad, or basically justifying its actions. So there's two ways to cut that. All right. If I were Jon personally, I would just simply lay low. Fade. Fade back. Lay low, fade back, enjoy my cash, enjoy my family, enjoy my home. Maybe talk about maybe restart the Fired Football Coaches Association, which would be appropriate in this case because that's what happened. And go on from that perspective. But I would not take that other route. But it is very possible, folks. And don't think there are other people out there who will not, and they're already doing this, take up that mantle. All right? No, this is a significant event. There's no other way to look at it. It really is.
Let me say this.
Sure.
He did what he did, and it's wrong. It's juvenile. Yep. But the other thing is that, and you could say that it's sort of like, you look at, it's almost like, I'm trying to remember the word when it had to deal with Hollywood. I think maybe in the 40s or 50s, and they were all in Hollywood. They were making accusing people of being communists and
McCarthyism.
Yes, okay, yeah, McCarthyism, right. And so, but you have the evidence, you have, emails, you have pictures and this and that. So, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, there you go. But, you have these people being, tried in the court of also popular opinion, whether it be R. Kelly, whether it be a Dave Chappelle, whether it be Michael Jackson, there has to be these boogeymen and things like that, trying them on something. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we're locker room guys. The things that we talk about amongst ourselves, anyway, I don't initiate it, but it's like when there's women around, we keep our mouths shut. We know who's who, we know what's at stake, and we don't say anything, and they're not privy of anything that we say. And that goes on. This is just something where the covers have been peeled back. And, whether you have John and, with his faces and, discontent on a play, and that's all Chucky, and now you get this and things like that. But I sort of always knew that, he was talking trash all the time and things like that. He felt a certain way. There's going to be fans of Goodell, and there's going to be other people who are not fans of Goodell, probably more so of them. There's going to be fans of Gruden, and there's going to be fans that are not, just because they don't like the Raiders, per se. But you know what? The Raiders, they have to go on.
Well, Roger's also a long-time friend. I've known Roger since 1986. I was actually directed, in fact, by Allo Casal who was Al Davis' right hand.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Allo Casal buttonholed me to help the Raiders reunite with the 49ers after they came back from LA and reestablish the 49er Raider preseason game. Yes. Only the Raiders didn't want it to look like it came from the Raiders, okay? So that's where I came in. And Allo Casal taught me all the NFL. One of those games. Allo Casal taught me all the NFL politics I know, but I remember we were having lunch at Linguini's. If you ever are in Alameda, got to go to that place on Park. It's there to this day. Awesome cuisine, awesome Italian cuisine. And he said, there's a guy I want you to get to know. His name is Roger Goodell. He's the executive vice president of football operations. They're grooming him to be commissioner. So I read a book. I just happened to have a book on American politics and key moments in history. Roger Goodell's father was Charles Goodell. He was the only Republican in Congress, to vote against the Vietnam War. Okay? So he was the Barbara Lee of his time, essentially. That's Roger's dad. And so I had already read, just how happens, I didn't read about Roger's dad knowing I was going to talk to Roger. I had already known about Roger's dad. So when Roger and I first talked, we spent almost an hour talking about his father.
Chemistry.
Yeah. That's how we got to know each other. So from that point on, and even after I worked for the mayor in the Super Bowl, Roger would still consult with me about what was going on with the Coliseum and everything else on a regular basis right there at the meetings. I had my other role at the meetings I was going to, aside from media, was basically to inform the commissioner about what was going on at a level that no other person knew. So, and I cherish that to this day. Okay. So they allowed me access and have allowed me access to build Zenny 62 Media and have all of you here, and everything else. I really feel bad that John did that. It really is sad. It's a letdown and things like that, and it sort of it goes against the tradition of the Raiders when you look at it, because basically what Al is all about. Okay, because you know how it is. Al wouldn't play a game if they can't stay at the same hotel as regular, And Al, it makes you sort of wonder, but at the same time, and I'm looking, how my feelings are as the way the team goes, and it's like I look and you might feel a certain way, and I'll feel another way. In the back of my head, I'm like, hey, Mark is not Al, and never will be. Okay, and like I said once again, if Al was alive, would he have rehired him? Probably not. And would this move have happened? Probably not. So I'm looking at it from afar, and like I said, I'm very much I'm not going to say I'm upset. I'm disappointed
and things like that, but at the same time, this is the checks and balances, and the show has to go on. There's games to be played.
Something I think folks should think about regarding Mark Davis and Jon Gruden is that it was a brilliant decision to bring Jon in, because what Mark saw was someone who got the DNA of the culture. And yeah, I know in light of everything else, it does kind of put a pall on that, right? But my point is, you don't hire someone thinking they're going to do that. Think about who created the Raider image? Mark Davis.
Really?
Yeah, that was him. And you have to understand that Mark is a brilliant, give him his due, he's a brilliant branding and marketing guy. I remember when I was at the Raider sponsor party at CES 2019, and Mark was there with Jerry Jones, and Jerry was really ruling the roost, but Mark talked about his objective. He says, I want you to look out. We were at the Skyfall Lounge there at the Delano. He goes, I want you to look out over the window here. You see all those signs. Las Vegas has the signs, Raider Mac and all that stuff. He says, those are activations. And that's what we're here for, these activations, be able to activate these different types of sponsor relationships. So Mark saw Jon Gruden as the symbol of one of the symbols, not the symbol, but because as one of the symbols of the Raider image. And I think that's one key reason why he was so slow to let him go. It was a shock to him.
Shock to everybody.
Yeah, shock to second. It's really shocking to me, shocking to you, shocking to everybody. We're all hurt. We're all hurt.
Yeah, but like I said, this is a chapter, and I'm thinking that you probably don't remember them. Certain people. I think it was once they leave, they're not going to be the Raiders that they were anymore. And so with me, like I said, I can look back, and I'm not somebody that's like a little kid, not throwing away all my jerseys that people have given me and stuff like that. It's just I've just sort of step back, and where I stand. I'm waiting for the next team. Okay, because for whatever it's worth, and I could be honest with you, I ran into a guy that went to high school with Mark Davis, and I wasn't dressed particularly anyway. I was over in Concord, and he was like saying, "I'm glad the Raiders left, and I hope the Oakland leaves, the A's leave as well." And I was like, I didn't ask for this. I'm like, why would you say that? He says, because the council, they don't know what they're doing. They can't get the job done, this and that. And I'm like saying, well, I'm not really asking for this, and I'm, if that's the way you feel, fine, and I didn't want to get into it with this guy. But the deal is that, there's it doesn't seem like people, the powers that be, want Oakland to have anything.
Well, I don't think that's the case. I think Oakland,
then they don't know how to do business.
Oakland has, this is a different subject, and I'm not going to go and link this here, but I'll just say Oakland has lost a lot of intellectual horsepower regarding how to get things done. And it's the process regarding sports has become over politicized to a point where, unlike common urban planning, where you have downtown plan, you have areas where you want your offices to go, shops and everything else, we gave John Fisher, the owner of the Athletics, basically quasi-control of two key areas of Oakland, or tried to, Howard Terminal and the Coliseum at the same time, rather than saying you pick one and that's it. And the mayor, as recently as last week in her interview with me, was still trying to advance that. My point is, that's a different subject from where we are. And not only that, it's almost 2:00 in the East. So
I got you.
Let's close this. Raider Mac, Raider Mac, we want to recover, yes or no? And I want to thank you for joining me.
Oh, I appreciate you asking. Like I said, there's the games that will be played, and we'll see. How tough the team really is. You know how these things usually go when there's a disruption. Okay, there's a percentage that falls off.
Yep.
It's very few. It's not on the plus side. Okay, this is a make or break year. I said it before. one of them was going to have to go, whether it be Mayock or Gruden.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one of them was going to have to go, but I didn't think it was going to be like this. And I wasn't going to think it was going to be this soon.
No.
Okay,
No.
so this is a surprise to me. It's a shock at the same time. So I'm if they can get to 8-8, I'll be happy with that. I think they had a talent, but the thing is that their O-line is being exposed. Okay. Their own line is exposed.
Shouldn't have gotten rid of Rodney Hudson, among others.
Exactly. And what happened to him this week? What happened to Rodney this weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened? Okay. What happened to Gabe Jackson? Okay. But you're looking at all these people. These are all people that Reggie McKenzie brought in. He brought in, a lot of these players that are still playing. If you look at Chicago and you look at you look at the other guy who was playing next to him and defensive tackle. Jon Gruden let that guy go right off the bat. Look at who was playing tonight for Indianapolis. You have a lot of former Raiders there.
Yep. Okay. I remind everybody though, the Raiders are still 3-2.
Yeah. Well,
they're not 2-3.
Young. Yeah, the season's young, but like I said, let's see how that offensive line, because I've not yet, like I said, a Gruden move is to get Richie Incognito. You can see the way he talked about him and how excited he was when he was playing around the league when John was in the booth. That guy, I doubt he plays, a full season or 4 or 5 games, yet he's a captain. We'll see. We need him, but we'll see.
Raider Mac.
Okay, and that's about that.
Thanks a lot, my man.
All right,
folks.
Want you to have a good evening, and tell your mother I said hello.
Got it.
And nothing but best wishes to you and your family.
God bless your mom, man.
Thank you. We need the prayers.
You got it.
Take care now.
You got it, man. We all got.
All right. Till next time.
God bless.
Take care. All
right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
See ya. So that was Raider Mac, folks. Said he had a few minutes. He took an hour and 15. I'm gonna close out here. It's 1:56. So, not the last time I talk about this. Come back tomorrow. Subscribe to Zenny62, bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. That ends this broadcast. See ya.